Now try.
Hello, can you hear me?
Now try. Yeah, we can hear you
Okay, so let me start over here. So, welcome to Think Outside the Mortgage. And on here, I'm going to discuss creative finance options to work in this high interest rate market to let you know how you can work with a seller or a seller can work with a buyer in this market to keep the interest rates a lot more better without using traditional banks, which the best deal I ever done, which I left that link in the chat, was the lease option. Uh, Best deal I ever done. And I think the market is going in that direction because, a lot of sellers don't want to sell their house to get that new high interest rate because they probably got that 3% interest rate from when COVID came in and they had that 3 to 4% interest rate, but they can keep it if they understand to work with a real estate broker like me that understand these creative things that I'm offering to uh, my buyers or my rent to own clients that have been with us. Uh, when rent to own was, surging back in the COVID area. But I think that the market is going to go towards some creative finance because I see a lot of properties that expire or that sit on the market longer. And I think that some of the sellers are just testing the market to see, what kind of offers they can get for their house in the current market. And so what that does for a person that's looking to rent to own is a person like me would write your offer to that seller and say, hey, my client wants to buy the house, but they want to use owner financing. And you're going to go at it just like a conventional loan, but the seller can got that authority to say, yeah, I can do that. So you can actually get financing directly from the seller in this market, and that helps the seller because they don't want to sell the house. They don't want to get that high interest rate. uh they got a 3, so they don't want to go get a 6-7% interest rate. But how does that help them? If you're a seller on here, how does that help me if I do that? Well, you just gave them, say, a 5.5 or a 6% interest rate. So that difference of your 3% that you got were in the COVID, and now you gave this new buyer that 5 or 6, that difference makes a big difference for you to go and comfortably be able to buy your house, uh, and get that cash flow from that other property, which the buyer gonna be happy because they're getting a better interest rate than the conventional bank would have gave them. So sometimes traditional, it just don't work. Like right now, a lot of sellers won't do it because if they sold it and got and a buyer came in with a mortgage and paid off their own old loan, that whole 3% interest rate is gone because that new mortgage paid off that old one, and now they went and bought a new house and they got the higher interest rate. And the buyer that's coming in with that interest rate he got from their bank or credit union is coming in with their interest rate, but working with somebody, a real estate broker that understands creative financing. And I put that link to a deal that me and my wife had. That was our best real estate transaction right there. That was a military family that was they relocated and then they rented their house to some tenants. And the tenants stopped paying them and they ended up in foreclosure. So that's how, me and my wife found them because we specialize in distressed properties. And that's where I learned a lot of creative financing is from distressed properties because I fell in foreclosure in the 2008. So I learned a lot from that experience. But going through that experience, I seen, just how they did the whole transaction. And I just fell in love with creative finance and how they structured my deal and worked the deal with the bank and everything. So I've been on creative financing ever since then. But COVID came, courts shut down, everything just shut down, and prices shot through the roof. Interest rates dropped real low, and everything went just wild. But now the interest rates are a little high. Houses are still selling. They're still getting probably about 95 to, close to their asking price. But a lot of them are expiring. Now, if you went at this owner with the mentality of like, I want to present this offer to this owner to see if they would entertain me getting them to carry back this loan. Now, they're not probably going to do it like a FHA. FHA, you only got to put down 3.5%. So you would have to approach them with a more conventional way. And a lot of entrepreneurs might be, or investors might be interested in that, because you can buy a whole lot of properties if it's in a creative finance market. And I really think that market is coming. We got presidential votes and everything coming up. That, again, it might take a good year before interest rates get low, as they, anywhere in that range where I don't think it's going to get low as it did for COVID. That was a 3. So I don't think it's going to get that low. But this is something you could do now. If you are renting a house, call your landlord and say, hey, if I wanted to buy this house, would you sell it to me? And if they say yes, you say, okay, well, what's the asking price? So why am I telling you to do that? This is why I'm telling you to do that. This is the benefit of just even getting an option on the house that you're renting right now. Because they'll say, hey, I'll sell you this house. If you bought it, I'll sell it to you, Bobby, for $300,000. And I say, oh, okay. Well, I tell you what, let's lock that in and I'll buy it. I need about a good 2 or 3 years to get a mortgage, but I'll buy it from you for that 300. Why is that a good move? Because I locked the price. Now, if the market go crazy like it did when houses was just all up over, that same $300,000 house today might be worth $450,000. So if you're renting a house, always call your landlord to see if they'll give you an option. And the benefit of that too is that you have an option to buy it, so that they don't tell you, hey, we sold the house, you got to move. Which that happened a lot with a lot of clients we work with, that we help get out of hotels to get them in the house, because they'll say, man, my landlord sold the house, I had to move. But that's why you get an option on anything you're going to rent. See if you can get an option. And if you can't, I would move, because you got a 3% increase on your rent every lease renewal. So this session right here, I'm just trying to open your eyes up to how creative financing work. But now, as the series goes on, then we're going to get into some advanced techniques, and I'm going to be sharing my screen and everything, and just say, hey, this is how I would do this. This is how I would present this offer to this seller. And they usually would pick, one that works with what their plan is. And so it has to make sense to them too. It can't be one-sided. So that's why, if you're a buyer on here, understand what a conventional loan is. They usually want 20% down, or some you can get 5%. But whatever approach, you want to make sure that you can put that down payment down before you go in saying, hey, I think I want to use that. But then also, you can probably call your landlord where you rent now, if you rent a single family home, and you wouldn't have to put that down, because you can just get that option to buy that house from your landlord. So hopefully anybody that's on here out of this viewing this, even if you're renting, you will focus on renting with at least an option to buy the house, so that you lock that price, because it'll give you that, it locks that house in at that 300,000. If that house shoot up, you already got what's called equitable title at a price. And hey, just imagine you renting a house and it shot up like it did and it's worth 450 now. You can sell your option. So that's why understanding creative financing is a got to have in your toolbox of real estate. Just even as a regular renter, if you are looking at houses, just say, okay, yeah, I want to rent it, but is there an option to buy it too? And if you can get an option on the house that you're renting, you win. Trust me, because the way the market just shot up when that COVID came through, oh man, a lot of people got their rentals took from right up under them, and had to move, and didn't even know that the landlord was going to sell the house. And I'm talking about living in these houses 10, 15 years, and just landlord sold the house because they had a verbal agreement. So that's why you need to work with a real estate broker. You need to have a relationship with a real estate broker that knows how to present your offers to even off-market properties, that this is what you're trying to do because you got that down payment, and you want to put this amount down and you need 3 or 4 or 5 years um, before you can actually go to the bank and get a traditional loan to close it out. But I wouldn't go get it if the interest rate is cheaper from the actual seller. And sellers I work with, I'm going to try to help them understand the benefit of giving the buyers better rate than what the bank is going to do, because they'll pay, they'll stay, they're going to keep that agreement a longer time because whatever's on the market is higher. So that helps the seller when they move on to their new house keep that interest rate and carry that 3% with you to make it benefit you. So it's a win-win all across the board. You just got to know what you're doing. And then you have to work with a title company that understands this, because in some cases, the title company or the attorney at the closing is going to write that mortgage. And that's a whole, and it just depends on what way is the seller going. And when I'm writing your offers to help you get that property with a seller, or if I'm working with a seller, I'm gonna explain the process and say which route is better for you, which one do you feel comfortable? Because some will say, well, I don't want to do that because they'll do this. The deposits are non-refundable. If somebody put that much skins in the game, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna pay on time, they're gonna take care of the house like it's theirs, and the owner is just the bank at that time. And if you say I'm gonna get a mortgage in about 4 or 5 years, if the interest rates are lower, is then that's what you do. But if that term you got is better with that owner, I would keep paying on that one, and right there you good to go. So everybody that's just getting in here, this is about thinking outside of the mortgage and just learning how to get uh your your owner financing from the owner of the house, which is simply like I asked at the beginning of this. Call your landlord and say, hey, if I was interested in buying this house, would you sell it to me? And if they say yes, then you just ask how much. Because if he give you that price today, he might be looking at Zillow or something, and that's what he believes is worth. But if you can lock it in at that price today and you plan on renting that house for another 4 or 5 years, that's a smart thing to do. Because if it shoots up, you got that house under your option is saying, I'm gonna buy this house at 300,000. So that's why, where if you rent in a single family house, always try to rent it with an option, because that don't mean you own it, but you do have an equitable title in the house. And if you work with the right closing company, that landlord can't sell that house and surprise you or nothing like that with selling the house. So you do got to have those professionals on your team to help you do something creative. And that's why I'm just right now get your head spinning so that you can, Google a little bit so that you got some questions and everything moving forward. You say, hey, I got some questions. If anybody in here now got a question, I'm looking over here and I can possibly answer it. But I put a video of a house me and my wife bought in South Carolina using owner finance, and that's the best deal we ever did. Actually, that house was better than our house that we lived in, but we was focused on getting our investor on, and we rented that house out. We was gonna move in it, but I was like, nah, we gonna go ahead and get that cash flow, and that's exactly what we did, and that was our best deal. And I'm talking about, man, you talking about excited in a lease option deal. And that one, I mean, we was out of town and it closed the deal. And that's why, I help families with relocation, because we relocated the family all the way from Michigan down to South Carolina. And the owners of the house, they were living in Texas, and their tenants stopped paying them. So it messed up the mortgage, put them in foreclosure. And then again, with my experience doing these creative deals, I walked him through how to go modify that loan to get it back current so that he can come up out of foreclosure. And then what I'm telling you I can do for you is what I did exactly for buyers for that one is I got a qualified buyer, they paid a deposit and they paid rent, and then they had the option to buy that house in about 3 or 4 years. And that's just how sweet it is that you can make, present your offer to the owner for owner financing. It's just that simple. And all they can say is no. So if you having problems going to the bank, because again, the bank got stipulations that's out of control. They want to know that. I mean, they when they pull title on you, they going years back and asking all kind of questions. But homeowner, they see you putting skins down like a house down in Georgia right now, 350. It's like your basic house. So if you were buying that with a conventional loan and went to the bank, you would have to put down like $60,000, $70,000. You get what I'm saying? And then you would get that high interest rate of today's market. Let's say a 6. I'm just using a number. Don't hold me to that. I'm just using a number so you understand where I'm going with this. So it's a 6. But now the homeowner saying, hey, I mean, I put my house on the market, it didn't sell because I didn't want to sell it. I got a 3% interest rate. I'm not going to go out there and sell my house, get a higher interest rate. But now I gave him information and he's saying, hey, and I'm saying, okay, Mr. Seller, I got Jimmy John here. Jimmy John said he got the down payment, but if you give him a better interest rate than the bank, he would want to buy this house from you. He has his down payment, but he wants you to carry that mortgage for 5 years and he want a 5% interest rate. Are you open to it? And he would say, well, it sounds interesting. How would that make sense? How would it benefit me? And I would give him the information, and I would give him information that he could check. I would give him information that he could take to his lawyer, because I'm not a lawyer. So I want everybody to always, when you close the transaction, you close with a title company. That's an attorney there. They're not going to let something close that ain't legal or ethical. So that's why you take these deals. You don't get verbals. You go to a closing company so that they're filing this paperwork and they're doing everything legal so that you really have equitable title in the property. So even if it's an option, you take it to your attorney, say, hey, my landlord said I could buy this house at this price and he'll give me an option. What do I need to do? And you let the attorney do his thing. They're going to file the paperwork. They're going to file that paperwork with the register of deeds in your county, wherever it is. Let them handle all of that. And if it's jammed up somewhere, they'll guide you in the right direction. Let the professionals lead you through the transaction so that it's real. Because I mean, I didn't even had to help clients that then went on Zillow. Stuff sounds so sweet, and they done gave deposits to the person that wasn't even the owner of the house. You get what I'm saying? So that's why title companies is your best friend in something, especially a big real estate transaction, because they're going to pull title to the house, and the only person that can sign that paperwork is the real owner, unless somebody has a power of attorney. Again, your attorney will have everything there to make sure that that's a legal transaction. So again, my little quiz for you is, if you rent in a single family house, just give a call to your homeowner that you renting from and say, hey, it won't be no time soon, but I just want to know, would you be open to selling me this house if I got a mortgage? And if so, how much? And you just did your first cold call right there. Because it's that simple. When we get out here to try to do something, our head gets so over engineered or something being different than what it is, when it's really that simple. You have filled out a rent application in your life already, I'm assuming. And now you're just adding, can I buy the house? But I can't get a mortgage now. Can I buy it? And how much would you sell it for? They're giving you the price. And that price could be gold 3-4 years from now if it's a strong appreciating area, like what happened when the COVID just came out of nowhere, and shut everything down, and $200,000 houses start selling for $400,000. And if you would have had an option in that market, you would have had that money in your pocket because you got this option. You got this locked option to purchase this house in your pocket. And it's valid because it didn't expire. You within the term. And you closed everything with an attorney. Everything was right. That's why I love some creative financing when the market get ready for it, because COVID came through, and boy, it just messed up a lot of stuff. And so I think it's getting going back in there, and I watch the market on a regular basis because I done foreclosure, I done probate, I done rent to owns, I done traditionals, and right now it's kind of stagnant. So that's where I'm assuming, just from experience, like these sellers don't want to let that good interest rate go that they got, because I check a lot of them and I see, okay, they had 3%, because as a realtor, we pulling records. We looking at the record, and I'm seeing like, oh, they had that 3% interest rate. They had that, and I'm like, oh, so because a lot of them saying it don't make no sense for me to sell my house and I'm gonna take my profit and I'm gonna go get a 7% interest rate. I'm paying double my mortgage. But now here come Bobby and Felicia that understand creative financing, with all of these people that were willing to do a rent to own house. We saying now, okay, the home partners and the divvies, they shut it down. But the good thing about that, if you understand now, the benefit of that is the area is wide open for you, because you're not limited to only where they buy or their rules and all of that waste. This is pure straight to the owner. Boom, lowering that price without this upsell that they was doing. So you're saving thousands of dollars right now with somebody just saying, yes, yes. And you went to the bank and they said no. But now you got that letter that said no, and you just making that your homework assignment for these 3-4 years of that agreement you got, right? You saying my adverse action letter from the bank that denied my loan, because they're going to give you what's called an adverse action letter. So whenever you get denied, they mail you a reason why. Boom, stick that on the refrigerator. You in your house now that the owner said he'll finance, and you got that on the refrigerator that said, well, we can't give you a mortgage from the bank because you owe this much on the car. Your balance on this credit card is this high, or your student loan is doing it. So now they gave you the play. But if you don't have people on your team guiding you in the right direction, so that's why you might know some real estate agents, but hopefully after this video, you're going to focus on having a relationship with a real estate agent that's guiding you in the right direction, so that when you do say, hey, well, I got it in my 401k, how can I do that? You need to take an accepted offer, send it to your 401k plan, see if this is acceptable, and they'll let you withdraw that to purchase a house. Just this facts. I worked at Harley Davidson. I'm doing is repurposing my experience with you on what I know that worked, because I had to move in certain areas just to live there to get my kids to go to certain schools. So just jumping all around the way I moved around, ain't no way I could have just kept going to get a traditional mortgage to do that. So if you got any questions or anything moving forward, this just to get your head spinning so you can get your Google on. Who is this Bobby Terry Jr.? What do he do? I'm easy to find. So get that hard part out the way. And after you get through Googling my whole name and you see this dude is findable, BJ will be cool. You call me BJ. So, okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to do today, is just introduce it to you, thinking outside of the mortgage and saying, I'm going to call my landlord tomorrow or whatever day, and I'm going to just say, hey, I just got a quick question. I want to know, if I wanted to buy the house, would you sell it to me? You say yes. You just say, okay, well, how much? Whatever price he says, just agree to it, because your rent ain't going to go up. He's just saying, oh, I'll sell it to you for this price. Okay. Well, I'm going to talk to my people and we write that up so I can work on getting my mortgage. Is that okay? They say, yeah, you just did your first rent to own right there in the house that you already live in, which I recommend that for everybody. You do not want to sit in a single family home without an option to buy it, because if they sell it up under you, all that money you paid in without that option, and the option is just a simple, this price, but it expires at a certain time. If you say, well, if you're gonna get the mortgage in 2 years, I can do that. You know what I'm saying? Because you already got a lease, you already paying that part, but now you got an option. So now you got that option. And that right there is gold. And once you understand that, you would love to do lease options on a regular basis all day because you'll know, hey, these ain't houses no more. I'm driving down the block looking at them. Ain't none, but each one of them is a bank. This one said no, but I'm going next door and I'm gonna ask this other one. And that's what I had to do trying to get them kids in them school districts. I had to knock on that door, knock on that door, knock on that door, because I knew after I knocked on 100 of them, one or two of them gonna say yeah. So that's the mentality you got to get when you know you got that deposit. If they say yeah, I'm ready to drop that deposit, I'm sure. Bam, here go to proof of funds. You know, and I want to close with this title company. They know, oh, you gonna close with you gonna come with a title company with it. This dude legit, he coming with it because you can't come to the kitchen table with a deal like that. It's gonna mess up every time. It's gonna mess up every time. Because I thought you said all that's gonna happen. We go straight and we close, and if we get a problem at that closing table, we fix it right there because they're not gonna let the transaction go down if something ain't right. You know what I mean? And so your money and your deposit will be held at that attorney office. He's not gonna get them that money if some don't connect. So you do a kitchen table deal, that's how people lose that money. I don't know if you subscribe to our channel, but I think we got a video with a family that did that, and we helped them get it was a pastor's couple, and we helped them get a home in Covington, and they Covington, Georgia, and they paid somebody, or did they pay him? The pastor that we helped in Covington with that deal that said it wasn't a scam with him. I think that they paid him or something.
Oh, yeah.
They did. So yeah, they did. They paid Zillow deals. And if you don't got that thing to know how to do it, check the deed and see who the owner and all that stuff, you can't go in that lawyer office without them knowing that you the truth, because they're gonna notarize them documents and make them legal. So that's what I got for today to introduce you to thinking outside the mortgage. Does anybody have any questions? So in this, you don't got to say, what about my 400 credit score? If you got that deposit in a 400 credit score, them sellers be open to it because they know you ain't finna drop no $50,000-$60,000 on the house and not focus on getting that mortgage. That's why the owner can determine if they want to entertain it or not. And I mean, if you're an entrepreneur like me, man, when you out here trying to build it up, your stuff all over the place. But if I can get this deal, I'm gonna make this money to pay that. And once this gets stable, then I can go do some traditional stuff. So if my entrepreneurs on here, this is for you, and it balances out because you're making the money, but then you got to buy material. You got to do all this. Your credit cards maxed out this week, down that week, all that stuff right there. That wouldn't work in a traditional deal because that debt to income will trigger a flag and they'll shut that loan down, and you will not get them favorite words clear to close. You wouldn't hear that if you doing business as usual and making heavy in and out transactions like that. So hopefully this gives you a little idea of thinking outside the box with calling your landlord and saying, if I was interested in buying this house, would you be open to it? It's just that easy. When you go out this weekend, if you even looking to rent a house, you're filling out the application, you built that good rapport, because you know how we go in when we want that house on that thing. I'll be that interview on the spot, let them know I'm the one for this house. You fill out that application, you got a hella smile too, like, yeah, I filled out everything on there, and I've been at my job. I've been there for about a good 10 years. I mean, you breaking everything down to add that qualifying thing in there, but just add that extra at the end after you got past that. Okay, hey, let me ask you this. Would you be open to selling it too in about 2-3 years from now? Because a long-term investor gonna say nah, because they want their cash flow. But somebody else that's just like, man, I don't want to pay 2 mortgages, they'd be like, yeah, well, yeah. And then you just say, okay, because you don't go for it all in one serve. And that's where your relationship with Bobby Terry say, hey, we're going to walk down and get it all together for you. Okay. So hopefully this gets you to go out and Google some things you ain't never Googled before, like what is creative financing? Is it legal? Verify all of that before we get this series really popping off the ground and get you out there where you just now you like boom. You in it to win it now, and you just writing off and going crazy. So hopefully this information was good for you. But again, my name is Bobby Terry. Hopefully you subscribe to my channel so that you can get some more information. Go through my videos. And then I pasted the video of me and my wife in here on this deal. I love this deal right here. Oh, my wife posted stuff. I can share this. That's it. Well, if you're looking at this screen right here, we got this one for what I'm telling you. And you see, it was an open house. We was bringing more in. We cleaned the house up ourselves. We did everything on this because they agreed. So when the seller agrees with you want to take all the work done immediately and make this your house. That's exactly what we did. You come in there cleaning it up. We getting it ready for rent to own people to come by to see if they wanted to buy the house. Financing. My beautiful wife putting it together. We was so excited. I mean, that house right there was way better than our house. Now I see you dancing with some other man. So I want to see where this goes. Okay. I need a light to see home. Now, plan on doing a lot more. Just join the family. We got you back. Giving your money to a Zillow lord that ain't the owner. Okay. Oh yeah, it's dragging. So we're gonna cut it off. But that's the video, and you see how that excite me. That deal excite me. Boy, that deal excite me. So okay. So that's the end for today. I don't want to keep looping the information to you. So if you got any questions, just reach out to me. I'm easy to find. Okay. All right. Have a good one. Thanks for joining.